Hello, viewers. Welcome back to another episode of An Old Man with a Smartphone. In this episode, I want to kind of respond to one of my viewers and discuss the evolution of radio just a little bit. Over the years, radios have certainly changed, and we did have a quite a discussion on the difference between these two radios. This tall one is a DMR radio, and this one's an analog. But I thought I would do a little bit of a video on analog versus digital, as well as the evolution of radio. And waste your time a few minutes saying that. So let's get right into it. On this desk, or on this table, I've got two radios that were my very first. That would be the very first was the Baofeng UV82, and I did not even have a radio license at the time I purchased this. Upon getting my ham radio cert, I went ahead and moved up to the Yaesu VX8 DR, and this was my very second radio, but my first radio that had some additional capabilities. The difference between these two radios is that one costs about $25, $35. That one was, I believe, $450 plus the microphone and plus the GPS module. So all up, it was around $600. This radio is the next evolution to this one. It's actually two evolutions better, and it cost roughly the same money as what I paid for this radio, including the mic and including the GPS module. So with this radio, it has remarkable APRS. It is analog only. It does have a modem in it, so it can do data transfer and a few other goodies. It covers 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And I still use this radio today. It's never let me down, but it is straight analog. After this radio became discontinued, they made the FT1. I don't have one here, or actually, no, sorry, they made the FT2, and I don't have one here, but it was basically the same as this radio, but this radio has a color screen. The FT2 did not, and this has a few extra little enhancements. This radio here does do digital. It does what I'm going to refer to as the analog digital, or the easy to understand digital, in that you program everything like it's FM or like it's analog, and then when you're on a repeater or working with another radio that has the same C4 FM digital protocol, you can both go to digital, and it offers you a better range transponder. You can really hunt and locate each other's radios quite well, and it takes no real setup. There's no trickery in the code plugs or how you program this radio. It is digital, but it's a very analog way of doing digital. Now, with that said, it works very, very well, and most people have no problem with it at all. Whereas this IC705 in the background has a different digital protocol. It has D-Star. D-Star is slightly more complex than System Fusion or C4FM, but it's still a relatively analog way of doing digital. And then you move on to This radio, which does DMR digital, that's a lot more involved on the programming, and it's a lot more commercial, a lot less user friendly. However, it still works good. So with that being said, I'll move along to my Baofeng crowd here. So I've covered the evolution of these two, and unfortunately I don't have an FT2. They also make the FT5D now, and I'm not going to be surprised to find out a 6 is coming soon. It's digital just gets better. There's a technology evolution. Now with the Baofeng. Baofeng as a company has had its own evolutionary cycle. And this is the early model, as well as the UV5 and UV5R variants. Usually their filtering is bad. Most of the components aren't very top quality. They do work, but you know, they've got a bit of a dirty signal on the second and third harmonic. All they do is 2 meter and 70 centimeter, and then of course you can get the FM broadband radio and all of these, and cute little flashlight. This radio is a step up. Unlike the UV82. This radio brings several extra goodies for technology. One is it has a higher, more stable transmit power. It also has better filtering, so it's a much cleaner signal on the second, third, and fourth harmonics. It's a tri-band radio, bringing to you 1.25 meter, 2 meter, and 70 centimeter frequency span. It does not do digital, but it does have a scramble feature. Now the scramble feature is it's nothing fancy, but if you didn't have another one of these radios, you probably wouldn't make the transmission out too well. And it has 3 different options of scramble, whereas this one does not. And for a lot of viewers who are not ham radio operators, you just buy your GMRS or your FRS blister pack radios. They boast about having privacy tones. Privacy tones aren't exactly private, they're just CTC-SS tones. They're good for reducing interference from, say, bad electrical somewhere that's giving off a lot of RF interference. If you're using a tone, it won't open your squelch. Whereas this radio and its scramble feature, it has the CTS, yeah, it's got the tones too. All of these radios do. But this does have a scramble, which is a little bit of privacy if you were out quadding or paintballing or whatever. This radio will give you a wee bit of privacy as long as the people listening don't have the same radio. These two radios are very comparable in price as well, given their evolutionary jump. This one just, it has the extra band, a little more power, cleaner frequency. It has the scramble, and it also has USB-C charging, where the older models USB-C was not a standard. Now it's more of a legislated mandatory standard, so you'll see it with more and more radios. So Baofeng has had a good evolution between these two radios, and they have been trying. This radio follows a commercial protocol, DMR. It too has a GPS in it. It can do digital APRS, although its APRS handling and protocols are not evolved as much as the Yaesu brand is. But moving back to this radio, you could easily purchase one of these radios, use the programming software to program it in an analog manner, and you wouldn't have to worry about figuring out all of the complexities of DMR. This will still work very well for you in an analog manner. It'll also be better than this radio and definitely better than that radio. And as you work your way through the programming software, you'll be able to begin to understand the DMR and kind of how that works. So with this video, or with this radio, again, it's got the GPS. It has a much bigger battery. It's USB-C supported as well. But what's really cool about this radio is it has, say, different channel banks or different frequency banks when you program it, even in full analog. And how I have mine programmed, we'll just turn it on and get her going here and I'll show you. Oh, no, I won't show you. Daylight on the screen isn't wonderful. Maybe you can see that. It says the Kara network at the bottom underneath the frequency. And I have every repeater for the Kara radio network programmed into this radio. I've got over 230 frequencies in here. But moving to the next bank, I've got all of the Southern Alberta Radio Association and all of their repeaters in here. Kind of hoping you guys can see that a bit. And then I have to look around the camera. Wild Rose. Then I have my repeaters for Calgary in here. Sorry about the terrible camera. You know, this isn't a full-time job. And then I've got all the frequencies. Alberta 1 and Alberta 2 are all 2-meter frequencies. And then the Alberta 70 centimeter 1 and 2 is all of our 70 centimeter repeaters. And then I've got all of the logging or resource road for my area programmed in here. I've got the GMRS, FRS programmed into a slot. And I've got the trucking frequencies used on the highways all programmed in. And when you have as many frequencies in here as I do, being able to break them up for your reason of use is absolutely paramount. Otherwise, you know, you might flip 140 frequencies to try and find the one you're looking for. But even if you were to purchase one of these radios to use specifically on analog and figure out the DMR later, I think it's a better buy to buy the DM32 than it is the UV32. Essentially, they're exactly the same radio, just one has a DMR protocol and the other does not. One thing to keep in mind when it comes to these radios is what you pay for is what you get. Bofeng radios are a lot more inexpensive. Here's a selection of the cloning wires I use, and there are 4 of them, and sometimes it is finicky. This wire marked Bofeng will work on 1 or 2 of these radios, but not all 3. This one will work on 1 or 2, but not all 3, so forth and so on, and that's just nature of the beast. Whereas the programming software I get for these radios, it's not put out by Yaesu, it's put out by RT Systems, and they give you the clone cable and the software. It works brilliantly. I've never had a problem. Your cable just works, everything works. This radio here is done a little bit differently. And it's certainly used for a different purpose. It's not exactly a handheld. but it can be done through a basic USB data cable. And I believe you can also do it remotely through Bluetooth. But to be honest, I've had this radio a while and I have not even played with all of its features. I've not played with all of the features of this one either, but I do have it working on DMR and a couple of extra goodies. Aside from that, that's all I wanted to add for now. I just thought I'd throw out a quick video. I am at 799 subscribers and we're looking to break that 800 mark. So if you haven't, go ahead and do the click. Please leave me comments in the comment section. The comments back and forth, I do respond to them. And a big reason I even do these videos is just to connect random citizens from all over the world on a hobby that we all have in common. So please definitely leave a comment and keep it polite. Keep in mind, not all of my viewers are radio operators. Some are just radio enthusiasts, and some have other reasons why they want into radio and like it. Other than that, you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.